Hello everyone, it's Apple Briars and it's April, which means it is International Model Tack Making Month, and I thought I'd put together a little vlog just showing my progress on my project this month. So I've signed up to make a traditional black Western saddle with rear rondo plates for this handsome dude who is called Brave Romance in my herd, but is actually the regular run Morgan Quest native son. And I'm basically starting off with just getting all the pieces laid out. So I am using the rear rondo pattern from their Western saddle kit. And essentially I've just got this big piece of tooling leather and I'm just drawing out all the pieces that I need. So I'm going to cut them out and it will be on to dyeing. So this is part 1 and it's day 1, so 2nd of April. And I'm hoping to get this project finished by the end of the month. So I have a bit of spare time this evening and it's officially kind of day 2 of me working on my project, so it's the 5th of April. And today I'm going to just dye my leather pieces. So here they all are cut out from the pattern earlier. And I now need to dye them before I start assembling my saddle. So I've got some Fabing's black leather dye here. And I'm just going to apply it with this cotton bud. I forgot what the word was for then. Essentially I find this applies a nice smooth layer, and I'm just going to coat both sides in the black dye. I've just knocked my pieces everywhere, but it's fine. And I'll show you the result afterwards. Here's all the parts dyed up, and I completely forgot how many parts there were to a Western saddle that are made from tooling calf. I'm very used to English style tack, so there's many less pieces with that. So here it's all dyed. It just needs to dry overnight, and then tomorrow I will put on a little bit of leather sealer to seal it all in and just give it a little bit of a buff up. I think the light's making it look a little bit of a funny colour, but it is a nice dark deep black, so I'm quite happy with that. It's taken me about an hour to dye everything, so hopefully tomorrow it will have all dried nicely and I can get on with starting to assemble the saddle. Welcome back to day 3 of me working on my project, and so my leather is all dried overnight and I have applied some leather finish this morning just to help protect the leather as I'm working on it and just to keep it nice and durable. So today I'm going to start actually assembling. So I've got my Rio Rondo instructions out. We've cut some more leather pieces from some Skiver, which is a bit thinner leather. And the first bit is going to be assembling sort of the shoulder area for my saddle. And then while that's drying, I'm going to apply a little bit of paint to the edges of the leather pieces with the tooling calf, just to kind of make them look burnished, which I think just makes them look a bit more professional. Here's where I finished this morning, which is by finishing up covering my resin shoulders for the Western saddle in leather. There's just a little bit of glue I need to clean off, but it's quite easy to do. So that was quite faffy. I forgot how many folds and seams and things you have to create to be able to cover this. And I think it'll look much better once I get some decorative plates on it. And I also did some burnishing. So I basically put some acrylic paint down the edges of all my leather pieces just to make it look a bit more finished. So I'm now on to the afternoon. I've had a little break. It's nice and sunny. And I'm going to be doing the lower skirt assembly, I think, this afternoon. That's going to be my aim. Here we have the straps I've been working on, and I've been using the hole punch just to punch some nice big holes in for being able to buckle them up. It does look really messy at this stage, but I know that it will look much cleaner once it's all on the saddle and everything's all covered up. So taking another hour to do this bit and a bit of skiving, so I've got some skiving fluff everywhere. But I'm quite happy with how it's going so far. I'm just hoping that it's going to start to look nice and neat as I put it all together. Okay, so here's where I've decided to leave my Western saddle for today. So I've just finished the lower skirt assembly steps. And this is what my saddle's currently looking like. So it's quite flat and shapeless at the moment, but I've added in some D-rings at the front so we can attach a breast collar later on. All the straps are attached, and I've added in some of the rear rondo accessories plates. So these are the little reinforcements plates, just to add some decoration. There are going to be some corner plates and things added on, but they're going to be added on probably towards the ends so they don't get too mucky. But I'm quite pleased with this. I've definitely learned quite a few things for the next Western saddle I make already. Like, for example, the rear rondo accessories kit. actually has quite a few of these like buckles that are designed for rigging. So rather than actually cutting a hole in my lower skirt, you'd make more of like a slot and just put buckles in where you could attach these straps instead. So I've kind of made it into a little bit of a hybrid just because I did want to put the buckles on so that it didn't look mismatched, as otherwise I'd only have these plates on with nothing on this side, and I didn't really like that idea. So yeah, I'm quite happy with how it's going. For me, it's harder making a Western saddle than English stuff because I don't ride Western. I'm in the UK. We don't have an awful lot of Western stuff over here. So I have to like research quite a bit to try and get my head around things. But I really enjoy it. I like learning about different types of tack. And I've got my very first rear rondo saddle with me actually here, just to kind of help me remember the different steps. But yeah, it's been a good day. It's taken me a couple of hours and it doesn't look like a couple of hours work here, but I can promise you like skiving and getting everything ready takes ages. But here's how International Tack Month's going. I'm hoping to finish on time. So next time I will work on this will probably be in a few days' time, as I've got my job now for a couple of days. But I will continue making my vlog then. Back for another little bit of tack making. It's been about a week because I've been super busy at work, but here's where we left off. So I had the lower skirt assembled and we'd also made the shoulders, and today I'm going to be focusing on making the stirrups. So the stirrups are actually made from leather, so they're just these little leather tooling calf strips, and we're going to essentially bend them into this kind of a shape here. So I'm going to do that, hopefully put together the stirrups and put some plates on the outside of the stirrups today so that they're ready to go. It's a bank holiday, so I'm hoping to do a few other things today as well, so I'm not going to be exclusively tack making, but it's nice to be back at it. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll see what we turn up with. Just using these resin stirrups to try and shape my level on. So essentially I've just glued two of those pieces together, and then you just have to glue them and bend them into shape. So I'm just holding this position until the glue sets, just to kind of get that nice rounded Western shape. So here's where I'm finishing up for the day. I've made my fenders and stirrups today. So we'll start off the stirrups. I've got one of the little rear rondo stirrup plates on both of the stirrups, and they're attached essentially to the fenders by a pin. And then we've also got this thin stirrup liner at the bottom, which is made from the stretchier little skiver leather, and the exact same thing has been done on the other stirrup. Then there's just a little bit of leather lace above it, and then up here we've got essentially our plates either side just to give it a bit of decoration, and this will be ready to be attached to the saddle in the next few steps. Today I'm going to be working on the front and the rear cinch, so I've got out some jump rings so I can create a buckle either end. I've got these little things that I use for tongs out, and of course I've got the instructions at the ready. So I'm hoping to be able to do this section, which is the front and rear cinch assembly, and then I'm maybe hoping to do a bit of the final assembly as well of putting the saddle together. We'll just see how far we get. Okay, so it's a few hours later and I've finished making the cinches. So we have our front cinch here. These have little cinch keepers, and we also have these little buckles. These, one will connect to the breastplate and one hooks up to this little connector strap here, which just keeps the front and the rear strap cinches together. And then we have these buckles. So the buckles were really easy to make. They're literally just a jump ring with the little tongs threaded through. I don't know what these names for these are actually called. I did get them from a craft store actually, but they just make really straightforward buckles for Western saddles. They won't work really for English saddles because you don't see this type of style, but they're really easy to use, really nice for putting on the model. I love Western tack because it's very quick to put on. I love written photos, but English tack can easily take me sort of half an hour to tack up a horse, whereas Western I can do it within 5 minutes most of the time. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it's coming on. So here's where wrapping a model to protect it comes in. So I'm actually onto the fitting stage now. We're going to start to fit on the shoulders and actually make this look more like a saddle. So it suggests doing this on your model. Now, I didn't have any cling film, so I've put foil around, and essentially this is just to protect my model. So when I'm gluing pieces in place, it's not going to get all over this lovely model, and it's not going to scratch him, as I have made the mistake previously when I've been tack making of not doing this step, and it is a disaster. So please learn from my mistakes. If you're going to do any tack making on your models, you need to protect them, and I use either cling film or foil. So I'm just kind of working out where my shoulders are going to sit. So I reckon they're going to be roughly here, and I'm going to tilt it slightly forward, I think. You can have them in lots of positions, so you can have them quite upright, but I quite like it tilted very slightly forward, so I think I'm going to go with that. So we've got all the buckles done up, and you can see that connector strap in action there. So yeah, I'm just going to have a little play and see how I want things to sit. Here we have it a little bit more assembled. So we've got the shoulders all glued on, and I've also glued on the fenders. I always think it feels really weird when I glue on the fenders, because to me it always looks really far forward, but when you actually assemble it, it's in the correct position, and these are the measurements that Rio Rondo suggests for where you should place the fenders. But at this stage, it just looks really weird, doesn't it? It looks so like flat and shapeless, but hopefully over the next few steps, it'll start to look a bit more like a saddle. Here we've done a few more steps. So I've fitted here the Resin Saddle seat piece. So this is made by Rio Rondo, but it just gives a nice depth to the saddle. I usually make my own trees for English style saddles, but for Western, it's just so much easier to buy a resin version. I have also popped on a little bit of leather around the back, so to cover up the resin there. We've popped on the upper skirt, and I've also attached the plates for the upper skirt. I've also put plates on the lower skirt. Now, the instructions I have recommend doing the plates at the end, but I felt that I needed to put them in now to kind of align everything up and get it how I want it, as well as I felt that by attaching them on the model, it would allow me to get the right kind of curve to them, because you do have to bend the plate very slightly just to get it to sit how you want. But I'm quite happy with how it's turning out so far. So next step is going to be to cover the seat, and then we're going to start putting on the skirt and things like that, so that it all starts to look a bit more neater. But you can definitely see it's becoming more of a saddle now. Also, today I've been putting on quite a few of the plates. So I've put on the horn cap, we've got the gullet plate there, and I've also added on the cantle plate, and it's looking quite fancy now. And one thing I did learn was that the instructions say to glue all the plates on the end, as I've said before. When I actually looked at it, this gullet plate needed to be put on really before I put on these pieces, as I found that I actually had to unglue them, like peel them off, and then put this plate on so that it didn't look messy. So the next step is going to be to put in the conchos to kind of hold the saddle together. So the conchos, basically I have these little dressing pins, bending them 90 degrees with some pliers, and then the conchos are these little circular pieces here, and this is a buckle keeper, so that's going to go on sort of here on the saddle. So yeah, that's where I'm up to. I'm going to put the conchos on, and then that should be my saddle made. Annoyingly, a bit of glue got on this bit of the saddle here, so I'm probably going to just touch it over it with some dye. It says in the instructions to use a tiny bit of nail polish and then touch it with dye, so once I've put all the conchos on, then that's what I'm probably going to do there. But I'm quite happy with how it's looking. It's definitely a better structured saddle than the last Western saddle I made. This is only my second ever Western saddle, so I'm still not super experienced at it, but I'm really loving the plates and how they look on this saddle so far. Okay, so it's the next day, and I have finished off my saddle. So underneath you can see I've put the chamois leather that I dyed yesterday. It's nice and smooth, so none of the pins are poking through. I've had to sort of wiggle them about a bit to get them to lie as flat as possible. And then here we have the saddle from that side. And from this side, I'm just going to do a little bit of touch up. So I'm just going to touch up the black in some places where it's just got a little bit of glue and things, just to make it a little bit neater. I've realised my seat piece is a little bit far up the shoulders, but at this point I still just love how the saddle looks, so I don't really mind too much. And I'm essentially going to quickly whiz together the breast collar and a simple bridle today. They weren't part of my International Tack Month challenge, but I feel it'll be nice to get something there so that I can put this set on the horse and take some photos. I really want to get some of these plates for the bridle and the breast collar as well, but I actually bought the plates for this saddle from Germany, and sadly the German website I bought these from doesn't stock the Rio Rondo like matching bridle and breast collar plates, so I feel like I might have to put in an order to the US to get them. So I'm going to save up until I need to do a big like tack order and then hopefully order some of those to finish this setup properly. But yeah, I really love how it looks. I love all the little details the plates bring to the saddle, and I love this in black, so I'm quite pleased with where we're at so far. So what I'll do is I'll quickly do all those little things that I said I'd do, and I will finish this video with a final look at my model all tacked up. Okay, so here we have the finished project on Morgan Quest Native Son. And start off, here's a bridle that I put together. It's just a simple leather lace bridle, one-eared bridle, and I'm hoping I can jazz it up with some plates at a later date, but as I said before, they're not very easy to come by here in the UK. We've got the breast collar there, and then this is the saddle, all finished from this angle and from above. And then what I'll do is I'll just spin him so we can have a little look at the other side. So here's the set from the front. And if I spin him again, here we have the set from his other side. So you can see sort of the one ear piece there, the sort of little centerpiece for his breast collar, his saddle. I'm just so happy with how it turned out with the plates. I know I made a slight mistake with the seat piece, but I'm quite happy with how it looks, so I'm going to leave it. And then you can see all the little connector straps underneath. But I'm really pleased I've managed to finish this International Tack Making Month project. I think it's turned out really nicely, and it's always good to challenge yourself. I love creating new things and trying something different. So this is my first time working with the Rio Rondo plates, which I have really enjoyed, and they were actually a lot easier to use once I got my head round where they all fitted and found the diagram for that. The only thing I will change in the future, as I say, will be the positioning of the seat piece is a little bit high, but once you've got a rider on, I don't think it's too noticeable. And I would also change the straps. Next time I make a Western saddle, I want to try and make more of a like pleasure style, so using kind of the plates for rigging and stuff. But I'm really happy with how this turned out, and I hope you've enjoyed following me along and seeing me create my International Model Tack Making Month project. There is a Facebook page, so if you're interested in doing this next year, then if you search International Model Tack Making Month, you should find it. And it's a great resource if you're wanting to start tack making as well, because there's lots of information there, and I learned a lot last year just from observing the page later on. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed seeing this model have its tack fitted and be brought to life, and I'll see you in another video soon.